Welcome to episode 245 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent and Jason here. And this week, we don't have a guest because it's the best of 2019.
It's year-end extravaganza.
That's a good way to put it. We're going to be talking a lot. This is about to get pretty wordy.
Yeah. But it's not going to be boring.
That's right. Yeah, we're not trying to dissuade you. I assume if you listen to a podcast, you don't mind people talking. So
right.
But yeah, 2019 has had a lot of great music. And we're going to talk about our top 19 albums and a few other things as well. But before we get into all that, as always, we need to let you know that we are sponsored by MedFarm and DEB Concerts. MedFarm is a dispensary located in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma at 24683 East Highway 51, about a quarter mile past Oneida Road. Right there off the highway. Can't miss them. Get in there. They've got a huge selection. They have a doctor on site every Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. They're running specials all the time, so if you follow them on their social medias or their website, you can find out about their daily specials. On Facebook, it's MedFarm, that's PHARM. On Instagram, it's MedFarmOK, and the website is medfarmok.com. And one of the specials is, if you tell them you heard about them on Thunder Underground, just mention our name, they will give you 10% off your order, which is a great deal. And on top of all that, their slogan is Cannabis with a Cause. Did I say that right? I was like, Cannabis.
It's okay. Cannabis with a cause.
Yeah. I almost got tongue-tied there for a second.
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's your love for cannabis.
That's right. And that's their slogan because 30% of their proceeds are going to build no-kill animal shelters, which is a great thing. They've already got land in the building. They're working on getting that set up for the first one, so we'll let you know when all that happens, and excited that that's happening as well. So a huge thank you to MedFarm. Get in there, support them, and tell them that we sent you. DEB Concerts, located here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A promoter that keeps bringing in great music to downtown Tulsa at the Ideal Ballroom. This year alone, we've had Saxon, Sebastian Bach, or that was late last year, but close enough. We've had Last in Line, Vixen, the Iron Maidens, LA Guns. You know, in previous years, well, just late last year was Kix, Junkyard, Dokken, Tom Kiefer, Beasto Blanco, Steelheart, Striper. Way back when they brought in Winger here 2 or 3 years ago.
That was a great show.
I think that was, I actually saw Doug post recently, that was their first show that he just went out on his own.
Yeah.
After the Streets Gone Wild thing where he came in and helped with that.
Okay.
So.
And they got a fucking badass one coming up.
Yes. February 22nd, 2020. So look at that. 2.22.2020.
There you go.
A bunch of twos. And I don't know where I can parlay that into anything with, but their second album is fucking amazing. How about that?
It is. It's their best one.
Yes, I would say that. Even though Keith Nelson does not agree. It is their greatest album. The first two are perfect. Well, I don't know. We can get into that another time.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast when it comes to me and you.
Do we even say the name?
Because we're fucking, we're nerds about Buck Cherry, so.
Right. A little too much at times
in
recent times, but that's a story for another day.
Yep. Buck
Cherry is coming to the Ideal Ballroom with Fist of Rage and Grind opening up.
Are you going to be there?
I believe I will.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be there.
Yes. We will be there, as I'm sure many of you will be there as well. If you contact Fist of Rage or Grind to get your tickets, I believe you save $10. That's what I think I saw CJ post, which is a lot.
Hell of a deal.
Yeah, because a lot of times when you're saving service fees, it's like $3, maybe $5 at the most. But if you're saving $10 a ticket, why would you not contact Grind or Fist of Rage?
Exactly.
So get on Facebook and hit one of them up. They will meet you in the Tulsa area, or they will send you the tickets if you're coming from out of town. Tell them we sent you as well. And you want to get out there and see both those bands because they're both great. They've both been on this podcast many times, each of them separately, and even together, actually. CJ and Paulette from Fist of Rage was on here together at one point.
Of course.
So yes, Eddie Trunk will be hosting that show as always, and we're really looking forward to it. And as well, coming up before that, you'll have the announcement for Rocklahoma 2020, which will feature the D&B processing stage. And that's out there. That is a stage that is booked by DEB Concerts. This is the second year that they're booking the stage. Last year they had Ace Frehley, Lita Ford, Slaughter, Beasto Blanco, and a host of other regional and local acts. This year I'm sure will be no different, and as soon as that all gets announced, you'll hear about it here pretty quickly, I'm sure. So yes, we'll be bringing that to you, and once again, thank you to DEB Concerts. Is there anything else you need to talk about before the Best of 19 commences?
I think we're good.
All right, so 2019 was, I believe it was another good year for rock and metal, based off of looking at this list.
It definitely was. I remember last year we were like, holy shit, 2018 is going to be insane. And it was, didn't know if it could be topped. 2019 came damn close.
Right.
Just as bombastic, I think.
I mean, we've done this now this will be the fifth one, I guess. 15, 16, 17. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We started, our first year end was 2015. Like we had actually done year end things on Facebook for 2 or 3 years prior to that as well. But we didn't start the podcast until 2015. And I feel like it gives me a greater sense of like how great, I mean, I've always thought, there was periods like in the early 2000s where I know there was great albums, but then I always felt like there's not more than like 10 great albums this year. But doing this really reminds me, like every year, like I think this year was a little easy. Like this year was a little easier to make my list, even though we got an extra spot than we have the last few years. But it's like, I feel like some years I'm always struggling that there's like 5 or 6 more albums I wished I could have put on that list.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because 2015, now there's 4 more albums than there was that year on our list.
True.
Maybe that's why that's not hard.
True. I mean, for me, and when it gets as long as it's gotten in the last year or two with 18, 19 entries, for me it was, as it usually is, just to get my top 5 super solid and super ordered how I wanted to, just my top 5 or 6, let's say. That was really hard.
Yeah.
And the rest of it kind of fell in, pretty easy, but those first few is always the toughest. It seems like you got one that you want to be number one. And then where does everything else go? That's the challenge.
Right. And I guess I could talk about this later, but we've always seemed in the 5 years, 5 episodes we've been doing these year-end things, that our number one, I think, has been the same almost every single year outside of maybe one.
Yeah.
I should have looked back on that, but the 1 and 2 is always pretty close to the same.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how it's just like once you hear it,
Yeah.
And then it's like, I know that it's probably going to be yours too, or vice versa.
Right.
Which is really, I mean, if you want to get super broad about it, it's no surprise that we do our own podcast.
Right.
And that we are into what we're into.
Yeah. But I'm going to run through real quick. I've got this long list that I made and just kind of just name a few that there were good albums that, we talked about this year that didn't make our list, like Stevie D featuring Corey Glover.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Then you've got Hysteria. We talked about recently. We played their music.
Oh, man. It was so good. Then
you've got Airborne, which I'm surprised didn't make either of our lists. But it's it was a good album, but it's one of those things where I think, I'm going to say this about another band here in a minute, I think, where it's just kind of gotten a little monotonous, which isn't a bad thing, because Airborne's always compared to AC/DC.
Yeah.
And they're the kings of that. But I don't know. Maybe that's just why it didn't excite me as much as it should have. I don't know. Then you've got new ones from Ginger, Bad Wolves. Michael Sweet was great. We talked about that on YouTube.
Yeah.
The Ferryman was great. Lacuna Coil was better than I thought they had been in recent albums. Dragon Force, Steel Panther. We talked about that one on YouTube. Blacktop Mojo was cool. Tool, was worth a listen. if you're not a fan, I mean, we both talked about that. I mean, I'm not a fan, and it struck me, it was worth one or two listens, and then that's it, He Is Legend was really cool. We've had Skylar on the podcast before. Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown. Sabaton, I'm kind of surprised didn't make either of our lists. Shock Narcotic.
That was a great one, and that was in the running for me.
Yeah.
That probably would have been 20 or 21 had it gone that way.
Right. We got Sonata Arctica, which I know you mentioned earlier this year that you liked that. I did as well. Sacred Reich, we just talked about recently.
Yeah.
Beasto Blanco's album was really cool. We had Chuck Garrick on here earlier this year. Upon a Burning Bodies album was cool. Baroness, of course. Soto, they're always great. Diamond Head was really good.
That was a good one, yeah.
And I like that a lot. And I remember you talking about that. I kind of figured that might end up on your list, but it didn't. A Pale Horse Named Death, I really dug that one, and I kind of thought earlier in the year it might make my list, but just stuff kept coming out that pushed that off. And let me see who else we got. Devin Townsend is, of course, great. Buck Cherry, we just mentioned in the intro. Their new album. Arch Enemy. Corroded. Dust Bolt.
Yeah, that was one that kind of caught me. You're right.
Yeah. Bad Religion, of course, was cool. Dream Theater was great. We talked about that on YouTube as well. Did a full review on that one. Let me see. Slipknot, we both mentioned recently that we both like that, but just kind of like with all this other stuff, it just falls off. KXM was one of the ones for me that was pretty close. Silver Tomb was great.
We just had Kenny Hickey on the podcast.
Right. Phil Campbell, that album was fantastic, and I
thought that would be on yours.
Yeah, it was pretty close. It was one of the 3 or 4 that I really wished I could have got on there, but along with Tom Kiefer was another one of those.
Oh, yeah, again, another. Yeah. Well, you really must hate Tom Kiefer.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm like, if you don't want to get back to Cinderella, I'm not going to support you.
Just kidding.
No.
Just kidding. We don't hate Tom Kiefer at all.
I freaking love the guy. Amon Amarth, I'm surprised didn't get into my list. Tear is another one I'm surprised didn't get onto either one of our lists. Yeah. But I think I kind of let that one. I listened to it, but I didn't go back to it the way I had in the past with that band.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know I talk about it every year when we do this shit.
There's so much.
There's so much, and it's almost like if something doesn't make it, it just fell through the cracks. Or, right. I got preoccupied and moved on to something else, and I mean, it's just there's no lack of new music out there to find.
Right. Candlemass is great. Our buddy Jason Carroll will probably be upset that wasn't on our list. And Queensryche is one that I thought, because when that came out, we both talked about how much we liked that. And I think we even made mention back when we talked about it that would probably be on our best of 2019. And here we are, and it's not.
We suck.
It's a great album, though. If you have not checked out the recent Queensryche albums with Todd LaTorre on vocals, you need to do that.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then Killswitch Engage is kind of another one that we both dug.
That was on my first.
Yeah, I remember seeing you sent me a preliminary list. Then we had, Duff McKagan. But I don't know if that really falls in. That's not really hard rock.
So. And we're going to get into that. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few others, but those are the highlights of stuff that came out that didn't make the list. But I did want to mention, is there anything that I just mentioned or didn't mention that you knew was going to come out in 2020, and then you're surprised that it didn't hit you enough to put on your list?
You mean 2019?
Yeah, sorry.
No, why you asked me that? Now I got to think, man.
I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, say you knew Killswitch had an album coming out, or Queensryche or whoever, and you would have thought, well, that's definitely going to make my list.
But I think we covered it. It's take for instance the Sacred Reich record, which I thought was really great, and it makes me just feel like an idiot for not really getting on that train years ago.
Yeah. So
it's such a new thing to me, and I thought that was a great record, but I just felt like I need to give that whole band more of a chance before I start, going on and on about him like I've listened to him forever. So, I mean, that's that. And I don't know, there's a couple other things like that. But no, I think for the most part, you covered it all.
I never have known how to say that band's name right. That Jason Carroll freaking loves. You know, El Uvite or Vite.
Oh, I've never
said it out loud.
And you don't want to fuck it up, so.
And I listened to that album when it came out, but I didn't, kind of, it's just another one of those I didn't go back to, but I've always liked them. And, you know, I think you probably turned them on to me like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I remember,
And that's kind of another one that, but for me, there's specific, the fact that there is an album, Tom Kiefer, we just mentioned, from Tom Kiefer, from Volbeat, and from Tesla, that came out in 2019, and then none of them made my list. It's kind of weird to me.
It is.
Does that mean I'm moving on? No, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, the Tesla thing is that they kind of did a left turn.
Yeah.
So I get that for you, but that doesn't mean you hate them.
No, I mean, Tesla.
You'll go see them again, as will I.
They're still one of my favorite bands.
I think I like the record a little better than you did.
No, see, I was thinking about this recently, and I really like the album. I mean, I don't like it as much as a lot of their albums, but I don't like it as much as Simplicity, which came out a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like it. And I mean, I really think if I was being non-judgmental and just looking at this from like some kind of, what do you think is good or what do you think is not good? It probably would have been on my list, but I still keep looking at it in that judgmental way of like, this sounds like Def Leppard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like one song. It's like Phil Collin produced this and co-wrote a bunch of this.
Yeah.
And 90% of these songs sound like Def Leppard.
Yeah.
So that just, I couldn't get past it. And I'm sure maybe years down the road, I might like it as much as other stuff because I do like it. And there's songs on there like The Mission that are just freaking great. But
hey, I got it on vinyl.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, didn't I tell you that? When it came out, I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways, I don't know. We're getting off the.
Anyways. And Volbeat's another one. Like, there's never been a Volbeat album that I wouldn't have put on my top list.
Yeah.
And then, well, I say that, but anyway, the new one, Replay, Rewind, whatever, a bunch of things in the title, whatever it's called. There's a few songs on it I like. There's actually several songs on it I like, but as a complete album, it didn't hit me the way most Volbeat albums have.
Yeah, I think that, Let It Burn was as great as anything they ever did.
Yeah.
That's true. That's the one with Neil Fallon on it. But at the same time, overall albums, they've got stronger ones, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, and that's where you make your cut and you make your decision and whatnot and whatever.
And then I know we've got a couple things to mention. They're like non-hard rock, or metal, but two albums I want to mention that I didn't expect would make my list at all, and they didn't. But I'm surprised at how much I love them, which is the new In Flames album and the new Hell Yeah album.
Really?
And Hell Yeah, I liked it, almost liked it enough to where when after it had come out, I think I'm going to put this on my list just because I'm shocked at myself at how much I like this. But it's just like when you weigh it against the 19 albums I did put on my list, it's not there. But there's 2 or 3 songs in this album. I mean, my Spotify Wrapped thing, the 2 of my top 5 songs were from that album.
Yeah.
That I listened to the most in 2019. And I mean, I think after it came out, I talked about it shortly and said that I think it's their best album since their debut.
Yeah.
And now I think it's just their best album, hands down. And I wish that this was it and they would just quit.
Yeah.
Because, just like, okay, we made this fucking great album, let's just fucking quit. Because their next album is not going to be this good. And then In Flames was kind of one of those bands we've talked about a ton of times on this podcast about how we both like rabidly loved. And then we both just went off the deep end from it, from when they went off the deep end of just like being real radio friendly or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And then this album still has 2 or 3 of those songs, a few of those songs on there, but it's got half the album is reminiscent of old school In Flames. At least, I mean, not like real old school, but it's still at least, the Reroute to Remain, Come Clarity era kind of, so they've shifted back a little, and I hope they continue that trend.
Yeah, maybe they'll go back the other way now, and like in 5 years they'll be good again. I don't know.
Right.
That's all relative. I don't know.
Right.
My good and your good is different.
Right.
Mine usually being better, but whatever.
That's right. And then we both really love the Sons of Texas Resurgence EP.
Yes, I think that was...
EPs don't make the list.
Yeah,
That's
EPs
why
don't make our list. But
Sons of Texas has been on our number 1 and I think our number 2 on their 2 albums.
They are. they continue to just kick ass. I think a lot of people are falling asleep on this band, and I think that's horse shit because this band is just fucking great, and they just keep putting out quality shit.
I think I hope that they just run the course. Maybe something will happen. Like Alter Bridge, how we talked about way back. I think you even mentioned it. You thought that this band wasn't going to last because it's like people aren't catching on after that first couple albums.
Yeah.
And you just, thought it might just kind of fade away because of that, because it wasn't getting success. And, maybe Sons of Texas the same way. They've had success on a small level, but to get that next jump, maybe if they just keep putting it out, it'll eventually happen the same way it has with Alter Bridge.
Yeah, if they just keep working,
And they've got it. I mean, those guys have the ethic. They're out there touring all the time.
Yeah. Cream rises to the top, and these guys are cream for sure.
Yeah, whether it be the first 2 albums in this EP or whether it be live, it's all excellent.
Yeah, it's insane.
And like you said, I mean, the EP only has 3 songs, but they're all 3 great.
But what a 3 songs, man.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, so check that one out if you didn't know about it. Prong also put out an EP. It only has 2 songs that are new.
Live stuff.
And then like 3 or 4 live songs. And it's the same thing. Both the songs are excellent. Prong has put out, I think over the past 7 years, they put out 5 albums. 4 of them were original material and 1 of them was a covers album, but all of those were not even subpar at any means. Like all 4 albums
they're all just impeccable.
Yeah. And this random 2 new songs is just the same.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've had him on the Tommy Victor on the show. So
that's right.
Look that up. Yeah,
last year. Or no, actually 2 years ago now. But is there any other EPs besides those 2?
I don't think so. I God damn, it seems like maybe there should be, but I can't remember, so.
The Normandies?
Well, of course. Of course.
I don't know if I even need to make that statement. There's been several times in the past 5 years that we're like, there was an album from Tulsa that we wanted to put on a list. Like, we think this is great enough, but it's like, we want to keep that separate in a way.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to like play favorites in this area or anything, but you know what I mean. Check out that Normandy's EP if you have not. So kind of on the front of like, normally we always have a few albums of non-rock.
Yes.
And I didn't really put too much thought into this because I'm sure there's something, but I can't think of anything this year like in the past years that I've really jumped on that wasn't rock or hard rock or metal outside of, something that came out this year. Like I listened to a lot of country and stuff, but Royal Republic's new album is great. And that would have made my list but it's just, I don't think you could classify them as hard rock.
It'd just be rock and roll.
Yeah. But there's a lot of, dance elements most of the times. It's
okay, I don't know.
It's kind of like what you got an album you want to talk about, but it's kind of in the same sense as like it's rock, but it's because a couple of albums in the top 5 of our thing we're going to talk about here in a minute are borderline not hard rock, I think, but in a different way. Like with Royal Republic, they've got more of that kind of funk element, that dance element, that 80s. There's even got 80s new wave sounds at times.
I get that.
And it's just like this conglomeration, and they're just another fantastic Swedish band. Like half the bands I just mentioned in that list a minute ago are. So if you're not familiar with Royal Republic, check them out. They've been on this podcast as well.
Yes, and fine gentlemen too.
That's right.
Very fine gentlemen.
Very fine.
Great dudes.
Very humorous as well.
Yes.
Another one I believe is the Duff McKagan album. Mm-hmm. We both really dug that.
And I agree with you. Produced by Shooter Jennings. It's just way mellow. It's way country. So where do you put it? What do you do? Yeah, it's like the guy's Duff McKagan. The majority of everything he's ever done has been either punk or hard rock. Yeah. But this is decidedly not. But it's fucking great. It's amazing. So definitely give that one a shot if you had not. There's
I kept forgetting to tell you. I'll tell you right here on the podcast.
Okay.
Have you seen that? I don't know why I didn't message this to you or Jason Carroll, but did you see that video where Henry Rollins interviews him?
Oh, I've seen it.
Okay.
Like, I've seen the headline, but I never did end up clicking on it. It was one of those things where, kind of the same, I need to tell you and Jason about it, and then I just keep going. I'll have to come back to that because I was at work or whatever, and I just forgot about it. So I'm glad you reminded me. I'm going to go look that up when I get home.
Yeah, it's like maybe 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
And Henry Rollins and him are just talking in a studio, and he talks about Shooter Jennings and a lot of that stuff.
I've got to hear that.
Yeah, it's great. And then I know you've got an album.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
One. Yeah.
Excuse me. I'll start off with the Steelwoods. They put out an album called Old News this year. And, you know, they're doing shows with Clutch. They were at Rocklahoma. You know, I get it. But to me, it's a country rock thing, a southern thing. But to me, they're just way more country than just, you know, a southern rock thing. They've just got, they're steeped way more in old school country, you know, 70s. And I love this record. It's so poignant, and it's really emotional, and it stirs you. But I just don't think it fit the hard rock metal thing. So that's why I left that out. And then the next record was Voyager by 311. And this was a little bit more like harder of a decision. Like, yeah, it's rock. 311's always been rock.
I mean, you could even call at times, you could call the early 311 stuff that they got famous off of hard rock.
Yes. Or rap metal.
I mean, at least a few of those songs, yeah.
Yeah, but this one, while I love it, I think it's a great record. 311 was, I think, number 2 or 3 on my Spotify Wrapped this year. I mean, I make no bones about how much I love this band, and it's not really a lot like anything else I listen to, but I don't care. They just have always hit a nerve in me, and so there you go. And this record is great. It really was. But it just had a little bit too many pop elements or electronic elements on this specific record. They just kind of went that direction this time around, and I just don't. And I think at one point in our discussion, I think you kind of left it up to me. You kind of gave me a like, hey, dude, you know, if you want to, do it.
Well, yeah, because you were asking if I thought it was.
Because I knew Steelwoods was like, no, that's just too country.
But I'm like, because I admitted, I'm like, I listened to, you know, when I would see the new singles were out, like on my release radar thing on Spotify. And I listened to like 2 or 3 of the songs, but I never listened to the full album. Mm-hmm. And I remember those songs weren't that hard. They weren't really like full on rock. So that's why I said, hey, you listen to the whole thing a bunch, you tell me.
And I couldn't in good conscience put it on a hard rock / metal list.
Yeah. So
those were my 2 kind of omissions that were like our kind of left of center category. Those are mine. So
okay,
there you go.
Cool. Okay, so just getting into the subject at hand, which is our top 19 of 2019. One thing to mention is that if you've never listened to this before, we don't sit down like, I don't know how fucking Loudwire does it or how, you know, like a major publication would do their lists in the past. And sit there and just go back over this stuff together. We each just make our own list.
We don't have time to fucking go over this shit and fight with it and fucking nerd out and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we bring some math into it, goddammit.
Yeah. It takes long enough as it is for the 2 of us because we're both geeks about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So just imagine the 2 of us sitting there trying to decide this out. So we just both make our top 19 and then just weight the numbers. Obviously, number 1's worth 19 points and number 19's worth 1 point. Put the 2 lists together, and there's always stuff that falls off of each of our lists because we obviously don't have the exact same 19 albums.
But it's unfuckwithable.
That's right.
I mean, really, this is what it is, and that's how it added up. So we can neither of us can bitch or try to fight or change anything. So
yeah,
and that's another reason why I dig it.
Yeah. There's always a few ties in there, but I just do, when we're weighting them together, it's like if there's one that's on both our lists, that obviously wins the tie. Or then if the two albums are just on each of our lists separate, I just take whichever one was higher on one of our lists and make that the top one, that kind of thing. But out of the 19 albums, we have 27 albums accounted for.
Okay.
And we had 11 albums that both of us put on our list. And then we each had 8 other albums that weren't on the other person's list. And in the past, we always have a few of those albums that didn't make both our lists, and they'll fall off. And it doesn't seem like it's always exactly even. Like I might have 3 that fell off, and you had 2 that fell off, or you might have 4 that fell off, and I had 3 that fell off. Mm-hmm. But this year, it lined out perfect.
Yeah.
To where we both had 4 that fell off, and 4 that stayed on.
Okay.
So, we'll jump into the 4 albums that fell off are our official honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions.
And I don't know, do you want to go back and forth or just each of us do all 4 together at a time?
I'll just,
do your number 4, then I'll do my number 4.
Okay. My number 4 honorable mention was Jasta, The Lost Chapters, Volume 2. Jamie Jasta, obviously from Hatebreed. He'll every few years he'll do a solo record and kind of a fun deal with guests, and this one was no different. He had Kirk Winstein on a song, Tommy Victor on a song, Matt Heafy, and on and on and on. And it just makes for some great songs, some great moments, and I really enjoyed it. So that was one of our honorable mentions.
Yeah, I love that album as well. And I remember you even mentioned you were holding out on your list until you heard that.
Yes.
And I think I kind of did the same thing, but it didn't grab me quickly enough.
Because it didn't come out till December 13th. So.
Right. So if this had came out earlier in the year, it might have grabbed me enough that it might have made my list too. Yeah. I don't know. My number 4 was Backyard Babies, Silver and Gold. And this band is kind of, not really. They're decidedly hard rock, I think. Even though it's a different type of hard rock. But I was going to say it's kind of like 311 with you. That this band's just always... That's not even a good relation. My band like that's Weezer, actually.
Yeah, okay, I get that. And I can't fucking stand Weezer, so...
But anyway...
It doesn't matter, but whatever, yeah.
So Backyard Babies are another Swedish band. He's fantastic. They've been around for quite a long time, and we had the honor of actually seeing them live one time.
Yes.
When they
opened for Social Distortion.
Along with the Street Dogs, right? Was that the same show?
I think.
Or is that 2 different shows?
Might have been 2 different ones. I can't fucking remember. But yes, we were we were in the same room as Dragon, so.
Yeah.
Not many in America can say that.
Right. And those early albums are so fucking great, and everything since has been great, but this is, I even like the last one, and I think I had it on my list 2 or 3 years ago when it came out. But this one really just got me a little more. Every song, it was just all killer, no filler, like I assume most anything that made our list is.
Yeah.
But, songs like Shoving Rocks and Ragged Flag and 44 Undead, this spans the gamut of that kind of mid-tempo kind of, snarly brooding thing he does. And then also the just flat out punk glam kind of mixture.
Yeah.
It's they open for Social Distortion, and I've always said they're the perfect blend of Social Distortion and Hanoi Rocks.
Yeah.
So if you like either of those bands, I would say give this album a shot because they haven't let up. So there you go. What's your number 3?
My number 3 honorable mention was Overkill, Wings of War. Thrash masters, thrash titans. This record is crystal clear. It sounds amazing. It just cuts through like a razor blade. Welcome to the Garden State. What a fucking song.
Yeah.
Jason Bittner on drums. So yeah, there you go.
I like this album, and I kind of let that slip through the cracks for me. I listened to it when it came out, and kind of like with Tear, I just forgot to go back for some reason. Yeah. And then when I saw it on your list, I was like, fuck. My number 3 was The End Machine. And this was a super group, which will probably be a one-off thing. I don't know. George Lynch is now the official supergroup master.
Yes, he
as
is.
he has like 14
It's
of them
official,
now in the past 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
KXM, I think, is the one that is the only one that's been putting out repeatedly putting out albums. They're on their 3rd one now. But the End Machine also features Robert Mason on vocals. And as much as I love KXM and I wanted to find a way to put that on my list, because Doug Pinnick is one of the most underrated musicians in the world, Robert Mason is also highly underrated when it comes to vocals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Over the past 20 years, everything he's done, and this album's no different. George Lynch, even though he puts these albums out and they never tour off him or anything, it's still just, he's the master of this. It's like he puts together a group and they just make a perfect album.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to think, what's that thing you say where it's like a struck lightning in a bottle or something? Is that right?
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, that's the phrase, yeah. I want to say that about this and with George Lynch, but it's not. It's like the guy is the lightning in a bottle because everything he does, every Lynch Mob album's great. Like I said, KXM. He's got another album coming in 2020 called Dirty Shirley, in which the 2 songs they've released are already fucking great.
Yeah, with him and who? Who's that now again?
I forgot the guy's name.
Yeah,
it's not
it's
like
somebody we know.
Yeah, is it? I thought it was.
So. I thought it was.
Oh, I thought it was but yeah, this album is just fantastic, heavy bluesy. It's kind of like along the lines of a couple albums we're going to be talking about here in a bit with like, I think my very next one, like Last in Line and stuff like that, where it's got that old school rock sound, but it also sounds modern. It sounds bluesy. It sounds heavy. So yeah. Check this out. The whole thing's great. So your number 3.
For me, my number 3 honorable mention was Toxic Holocaust. The album's called Primal Future 2019. It's a thrashter piece. Oh, yeah, that's a new word I just made up.
That is great.
No, it's
thrashter piece.
I mean, if you love thrash metal, you're not going to hate this. Joel Grind is a mastermind. He did everything in this record. Vocals, bass, guitar, drums, and it's insane. So
it's like,
look that up.
Not to get too deep off into this since it's not one of our top 19, but it's like, do you like that idea? Because it's like he's excluding these 2 guys that have been there, but at the same time, like you said, he did it because originally it was him doing that. Well,
who knows? Maybe those guys jumped ship or something. I need to kind of dive into the Toxic Holocaust story.
Okay.
So who knows? Maybe it just happened that he had to do it that way, but I don't know. But it's very impressive.
Yeah. Those 2 guys were on our top 3 last year, I think. Wasn't that the D. Snyder album was like number 3?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it was the Belmores.
Yeah,
and they're on the Jasta record. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
So they're all over the place and they're kicking ass as well. My number 2 was aptly titled 2 by Last in Line.
There you go.
Their second album. This band, we've talked about in length. Obviously, we had Vivian Campbell on this podcast in the middle of the year. We saw them live here back in October. We've talked about them repeatedly other times. They're a band that started, just playing Dio songs, and then they put out original music, and the original music stands on its own. There is nothing about this that just sounds like this band's rehashing Dio. Both these albums are fantastic. Andrew Freeman is another guy that's just along that same... He reminds me of Oni Logan. You can fall into that same line with, like Robert Mason, these guys that their voice just fits perfectly to this kind of music, David Coverdale, that kind of thing. And this album's just full of freaking great songs. Landslide, Block Out the Sun, Year of the Gun, False Flag. The whole thing's fantastic. And I urge you to look this band up if you have not. And also look up our podcast from this summer with Vivian Campbell.
Of course.
That was a highlight of the year for me, I believe.
Yeah. So my last honorable mention is Child Bite, their album called Blow Off the Omens. I really enjoyed this record. Talk about, that it's a little bit more direct. Don't worry, all the noise, art, and metal that you want from Child Bite is still there, but they just kind of trimmed some fat, and I thought that was really interesting and great record.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't even think about that. When I was listening to it, I was thinking that kind of, it sounds more direct is a great word. And I loved it as well. But my number one was Whitesnake's new album, Flesh and Blood. And it's not a note-for-note cover of the Poison album from 1991 or 90. It's their own album. Get that. The last two Whitesnake albums were named after a Poison album, and the one before that was named after a Tesla album.
Good Lord.
Sorry, I'm a geek. But kind of like I just said with Last in Line and then Machine, it's just like that.
It's a great record.
Yeah, that great bluesy rock that David Coverdale has always been great at. But the thing that struck me about this album is their recent albums, or their recent original albums, or even they did the Purple album as well, where it was all the Deep Purple songs.
Yeah.
That he was a part of, revisited, re-recorded. And then he had Forevermore, and then I'm drawing a blank on the one Forevermore. All those, the one before Forevermore, they were very blues-based, like way early Whitesnake, late 70s, early 80s, which is great. I love all that stuff. But the thing that got me loving Whitesnake when I was a kid was all the late 80s stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And Flesh and Blood like goes back to that directly, in my opinion. And I don't know, I think I mentioned this when we talked about the first single, Shut Up and Kiss Me, but this is the first album this features that Doug Aldrich isn't on, and this features
Joel Hoekstra.
Yeah, Joel Hoekstra, that was formerly Night Ranger, and his guitar playing is way more that style, and Doug Aldrich's playing is way more that bluesy, heavy style. So that could be a part of it, even though I assume that he probably wasn't heavily involved in the writing. But songs like Shut Up and Kiss Me, and you know, the first track, Good to See You Again, and then Trouble Is Your Middle Name might be my favorite one. These are all just sound like late 80s hard rockers from like Slip of the Tongue or something. So if you ever loved Whitesnake during their heyday, you would absolutely love this album, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Our honorable mentions, it's funny, the 4 albums that fell off my list were all hard rock, and the 4 albums that fell off your list were all heavy metal.
Weird, huh?
Yeah.
How that works out.
But then we both had both those things that did stay on the list as well, so I think it was just the way we had them, the way we ranked them, you know? But I look at my list, and it had big chunks of certain styles of music, which I also noticed was like, you have that bluesy hard rock stuff, like Last in Line and Whitesnake, and a couple of albums we're going to talk about, like Inglorious and then Machine and all that. And then there was the stuff like Backyard Babies and Michael Monroe and all that kind of fits together. And then all that middle of the road hard rock, like some of our top ones are. But anyway, I should probably say all that stuff at the end, but let's jump into it. Officially, number 19. Number 19 is Michael Monroe's One Man Gang.
Nice.
So,
if he puts out an album, it's going to be on our list.
Yeah. Yeah, even if it's that final spot there, it's still on the list. It should be probably higher, I think, but, you know, that's another one that we mentioned recently, probably a month ago, that I mentioned that I can't wait till this is out. And you said it's been out for a month or two or something at that point.
Yeah.
And I just let it completely slip by and not even know it had come out. So this is one I really listened to this past month. But just even off the first listen, I knew...
It just grew on you that much.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be one of my favorite albums of the year. And, I mean, highlights for me off the album were Last Train to Tokyo, Junk Planet, Wasted Years.
Helsinki Shakedown was great.
Yes. Hollywood Paranoia. Yeah, Helsinki Shakedown. That's one of the best songs as well. And, I mean, this is something, like you just mentioned, it's going to be on our list because this might be the third one that he's put out since 2015, right? Or is it the second one? Because I remember the last one, Blackout Stakes, was on our list.
Yeah.
But is that... Anything else you want to say about that one?
I mean, you know, it's prolific, and I mean, I don't know. I said enough last episode. You know, people need to stop falling asleep on this guy. It's fucking stupid. You know, how I don't know, you know. People show up to see some 21 Pilots bullshit, and this guy can't even get a tour in this country. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, if you want to... Was that the very last episode? Or no, the last episode
can't remember.
was the last. But the episode before that, Yeah, the one where we just talked. You go listen to that and you can hear like a 3-4 minute long rant about Jason's thoughts on why people aren't giving Michael Monroe the respect he fucking deserves.
Exactly.
So yeah, he's probably number 2 or number 3 now on my concert bucket list in life.
Yeah.
That I don't know if I'll ever get the
Yeah,
chance.
I don't know if it'll ever happen.
I mean, number 1 is Glenn Hughes, and I always worry that might not happen. But
I know.
Now that he's in Dead Daisies, it might.
You never know.
Yeah. All right, so number 18, Death Angel, Humanicide.
Yeah. I mean, what a record.
Just the name alone.
Oh, yeah.
I love that name.
Immortal Behated, I think, is a standout track for me. Humanicide, the title track, obviously.
Yes.
I mean, I really love the resurgence these guys have been on. They've been back a while, and it's just so nice and refreshing. Have a good, solid thrash band. They're great live. We just saw them live. Great record.
Yeah. I love Aggressor. I Came for Blood.
Aggressor, so good. Yeah.
The Pack. And yeah, we talked about it a little bit longer here just a couple weeks ago because we saw them live recently, and they did a headline show here in Tulsa. And I mentioned on that one, I just love how much these guys focus on their new album when they play. And not only that, they focused on Humanicide, but they also, more than half the set was from this album and the previous 2 albums that came out in the past 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of bands, especially that had their, I don't know, quote unquote heyday, like in another time period, like these guys in the days of thrash, late 80s to early 90s, would focus more on that stuff. And they do play a lot of that stuff, and it's great, but I'm just glad how much they focus on the stuff because it's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's heads and shoulders above a lot of stuff.
And I think you made a point on that episode how they probably focus on that stuff because they were gone for a while, and they're probably having as much success now as they did back then.
Exactly. So it's like, what's there to lose?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely if you've not jumped on the Death Angel resurgence train here.
What are you doing?
Yeah, get on it now with this one, and then check out the previous 2 albums as well if you have not. These guys are fantastic, and we had Ted Aguilar on his podcast. It's been quite a while now, 3 years ago, but it's a great one, so go check that one out. All right, so number 17 is Rammstein.
Which I didn't even listen to. They're not my thing, so turn it to you, buddy.
You just flat out, you didn't even listen to it at all?
I don't even know if I knew it was out. And that's... I'm not... they're just not on my radar. Not to say they're not good.
But yeah, I would have thought it was on your radar, because remember back at Oklahoma, they had the...
oh, that's right. I do remember that. I don't know.
I don't know if the record company, whatever, paid for a plane to fly around festivals, and it had like a banner that said Rammstein out now. And they're the type of band that I don't think needs that promotion, but it's a smart thing because this band hasn't had an album out in, I think, 12 years. Or was it 2007, 2005? I don't remember. And I was reading a thing a while back. Loudwire had their most anticipated things for 2020 or something. And they said this is the first time in the history of Loudwire that they didn't have Rammstein or Tool on their hopes for the next year or whatever. So they said we can finally stop writing about this. It finally happened. Yeah. But Rammstein, to me, is one of those bands that I love this band so much that I could be blinded. Because this album, overall, I don't think is as great as a lot of their albums, but it's still great. They're one of those bands that don't do wrong to me. Mm-hmm. Everything they've ever put out is, and there's a couple more bands coming up I'm going to say that about, that everything they've ever put out, I've never thought, well, this album I'm never going to listen to again, or this is their Saint Anger, or this is whatever. They just don't do it. And I mean, but it's there's nothing about this album that would sway a single human being that didn't like Rammstein before. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It's typical Rammstein. It sounds great. Radio, sex, was ich lieb, was I in love? I don't know if that's how you say that. And Tattoo. All these songs are freaking great. So I'd say if you love Rammstein, you got to check this out. If you don't, then just keep going on because you're not going to start now.
Yeah.
And it's only 45 minutes long, which to me seems short for Rammstein. So that was kind of cool as well, which is probably not. It's just something in my head. But jumping along to number 16 is Agnostic Front, Get Loud.
Oh, man. Now, this is something I can get behind. I've become a huge Agnostic Front fan in the last 4 or 5 years. Hardcore was always on the fringe with me. You know, I always liked a few things. But when I heard this, when I finally got around to hearing this band, and this is another one of those things where, you know, I don't, I'm an old bastard and there's a lot of shit I listen to and there's a lot of stuff that fell by the way, you know, over the years. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't begrudge anybody for being late to the party because there's just so much shit these days. And as you get older, you change and you're open to more stuff or closed to other stuff. And so this is just one of those things where, you know, I finally got around to getting into them and they really grabbed me. And I liked their last album a little better than this one. Yeah. But Get Loud is still great. You know, it's got all the hardcore boxes checked.
Yeah.
You know, it's short, it's heavy, it's abrasive. I Remember, I think is one of my favorite songs on the record. AF Stomp is cool. Snitches Get Stitches. Spray Painted Walls is like the lead single. I mean, it's just, it's great stuff, you know, to just stomp your feet to.
Yeah. Yellow Spray Painted Walls and Conquer and Divide. And, like I said, I Remember. And I Remember is like long as hell. It's like 3 minutes and 12 seconds.
I mean, what the fuck?
Most of these songs are like 2 minutes and 12 seconds or a minute and a half. 14 songs, only 30 minutes. But that's what you love about this band.
Yes, it is.
And I mean, like you, we knew this band when we were kids. Because there was like people, there was a guy at our school.
There.
I can't remember his name, a dude at our school that would always wear a Agnostic Front shirt.
Yeah.
And to me, I just, you know, my ignorance at 14 or whatever, I just thought it was like a death metal band because the name to me when I was 14 sounded like something a death metal band would have. And then when I hear them in later years, I'm just like, man, where the fuck? After like really getting a Hatebreed and them being the bridge to like this kind of stuff, I think for both of us, like I don't know where we were at on this band 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's like I feel like an idiot. I really do.
But hey, we're here now, and that's all that matters, right?
Right, that's all right.
And Roger Merritt's book, right?
Hey, and I will see them this year somehow.
Somehow?
I don't know how, but I will see them.
In 2020?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to tour for this record. They already are, so it's got to happen.
One day we'll go to New York and get a tattoo from Vinny.
New York hardcore. You come to my shop, you get a tattoo. And I'll do it. So, 15?
15 is pretty much, I don't know. Their sound's a little bit different than Agnostic Front, I'd say. Okay, that was a dumb joke. Big Wreck, But for the Sun is the name of the album. Big Wreck is one of those bands that both of us have loved since they debuted.
Yeah.
And if you're not, there's a lot of people might not be familiar with them. They had a little bit of radio success early on in the 90, when they came out in 95, or was it 94? And every album they put out has been great, but they're a band out of Canada and they've had a lot of success there. And that's just kind of where they've stayed ever since then. And they come into America, into some major cities, but they don't tour heavily through America and they don't get radio play in America for some fucked up reason. But this album...
Well, I'll tell you why, because radio in America sucks balls and they don't know anything good, so...
Big Wreck needs to put on... Ian Thornley needs to put on a space helmet and then it gets...
Put on a space helmet and make fucking schlocky diet fucking samey goddamn fucking rock and roll that sounds like equivalent of a fucking dry noodle and it'll get paid, it'll get played because people fucking like that shit for some reason.
Yeah.
But, you know, be diverse and talented and you can't get fucking arrested.
Right.
You know, it's the same, it's a broken record. It's the same bitch I have over and over.
Yeah.
So and that's why we can't have anything good, America. So, I don't know. Pull your head out of your ass.
Right. And these guys are hard rock, but it's not hard rock in the same sense of like a band like, you know, whoever we've already, like the End Machine or something's hard rock. It's like, it's atmospheric hard rock, I guess.
I think they're in there with like, Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and
that's
Candlebox.
Yeah, because so many,
I don't better, maybe not than Soundgarden, but
no, that's a good point because I don't think about it with Big Wreck, but whenever we told Jason Carroll to check this out, he hadn't listened to him previous to this album, I think he said, and he said it sounded 90s to him, like the band sound, and I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ian Thornley's voice has a lot of Chris Cornell elements to it. For those of you that don't know, he was one of the original people that Velvet Revolver was going to get before Weiland.
That's right, yeah.
And then he turned it down, actually, because he wanted to play guitar, and they just wanted him to be a frontman, and he didn't want to do it. Which I guess you got to give the guy respect for that, because that could have helped Big Wreck big time. But Locomotive is a fantastic freaking song. This album, like I said, this is the polar opposite of Agnostic Front. It's an hour long. It's got less songs than Agnostic Front have, and it's twice as long. There's songs on here that are kind of against the grain for what you usually go for, which is like 6.5, 7 minutes, 5.5 minute long songs. But the album as a whole, like I said, Locomotive, So Clear, Follow Me, has a lot of great riffs, a lot of great, his vocals are fantastic, and this band just fantastic songwriters. It never gets dull, and I just can't stress that enough to people that haven't heard of them,
Right.
And one more random side note about it. I was working at a festival in Colorado this year at a country fest, Seven Peaks. It's the one where I saw Chris Shiflett, and I was sitting at this thing, and I had this playing on my Bluetooth because it was like the week it came out. And like 3 different people that were just like attending the festival, like as country fans, I came up and asked who that was that I was playing. So, I don't know if the sound just kind of translates across the board. So that's another reason people need to get on board with this
Exactly.
All right, so number, is it 15 now?
I think we're at 14. Mark Morton, Anasthetic.
Right. All right, so this one, we talked about this highly when it came out, and I thought this would be high on my list, and it wasn't. But, I still love it.
Yeah.
And I know you do, too.
It was high on mine, and aside from it being a great record, I am a sucker for, like we talked about Jasta, I'm a sucker for somebody doing a record and having a lot of guests on it. I think that's really fun. It's cool.
Yeah, when every song has a different singer.
Yeah, sometimes, honestly, sometimes, it doesn't make for the best record.
That's right, yeah.
But in this case, it made for one of the best records of the year. I do not like Linkin Park at all. I have always recognized, though, that Chester Bennington has a great voice. He's got great power in his voice. Rest his soul. So I really enjoyed Cross Off. I thought that's a great fucking track. It's a great single. It's a great kickoff track. Axis with Mark Lanigan, I loved. I really love Back from the Dead with Josh Todd. And the traditional metal songs with Chuck Billy and the other one with Randy Blythe that were great. It's just Mark Morton's an amazing. He even sings a song,
and his voice is great.
His voice is fucking great. He's an amazing metal player. He's an amazing soloist, but also, and you hear all that here, like you do in Lamb of God. But you can also, this album also shows off his songwriting chops and his diversity.
Yeah.
So this guy can do anything. Mark Morales from Sons of Texas helps him out live. I really wish I could see that.
Yeah.
It's just great all around. And it's my 2 cents on this record.
Yeah, Access by Mark Lanigan's one of the best songs of the year, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you said, Cross Off. I wish if Linkin Park had not had, what's his name? The rapper dude.
Mike Shinoda.
Yeah, if they'd not had Mike Shinoda, and this is how Linkin Park, the direction they were, we would have loved them. But then again, they would have never got as big as they were. So
true.
That's why
and that's my thing. Is like I got to see Linkin Park once. They were definitely a live force, and I do not think they're a terrible band. It's just if there's too much rapping and too much electronic stuff going on, I check out. Yeah. I can't get into that. That's just my thing. I don't know.
You mentioned Back from the Dead with Josh Todd, and this to me is the best thing Josh Todd has done in like fucking 5 or 6 years.
Right on.
Like, this is better than every Buck. And I like Buck Cherry, and this isn't the time to get into like a Buck Cherry rant, but this is Back from the Dead is how Buck Cherry should have sounded for the past 3 albums, but they don't. So I'll leave it at that. And what was one other one I went? Yeah, Save Defiance with Miles Kennedy is great as well.
Oh, man.
Because to me, that almost sounds like Miles Kennedy wrote it with him, but I don't know. Maybe it's just his voice forces it into that sound.
It was either on it was on the Jasta show or on Eddie Trunk, where he didn't write it with him.
Is it like he wrote
came
it with
up
them
with
in
it,
mind?
and he knew that, oh man, I got to get Miles for this.
Okay, that's what I kind of wondered, because a lot of the songs that I think we talked about this when it came out. My only it's not even a complaint, but I thought every song musically sounded like the guy that was singing it, and I thought, well, maybe they wrote it with him, but if they didn't, I'm like, did he just do this on purpose?
Yeah, which
doesn't really matter. They're good songs. It's a good song, so that's irrelevant. But I don't know. All right, number 13 is Soilwork.
Wait.
What?
I want to ask you something. I'm seeing these points, and a few different ones have 13 points and 14 points. So you just putting them in whatever order you wanted to, motherfucker?
I explained that at the beginning. If it was some...
Well, I was looking shit up, getting ready while you were talking.
Okay.
We're multitasking motherfuckers here.
Okay, you want me to...
you better explain yourself.
Okay, let me find the list.
I'm starting to get angry here.
Okay, I can't go too deep into this without giving away albums up here on the top, but...
That's it.
I'm
pissed.
No, if you look at 12, 13, and 14 here. 12 we both had on our list, so that's why they all have the same total amount. That's why that one is above these other two. And then number 13, I believe I had higher on my list than you had 14 on your list.
Gotcha.
And then if you look up at number...
No, I get you now. I see what you mean. I just wanted to make sure.
Right above that 10 and 11, that's a tie, and yours was above mine. So
I had to keep you on the up and up.
Okay.
I want to make sure that, the real votes are being counted, not the Electoral College, okay?
That'll never happen.
So anyways, so we had, so number 13 is another one where it's kind of all you.
Which is weird to me, because I thought
it is. I know. Believe me, I love Soilwork, but I don't know, for some reason the last 4 or 5 records, they haven't connected with me like they used to.
Okay.
And I expressed that to you.
Right.
And I listened to this record and it's great, but it just didn't make, so I turn it over to you.
Verkligheten or Heighten, I don't know how to say it.
That's another reason. I just didn't want to, I'll let you talk about it.
But I remember when this came out, you said you really loved Full Moon Shoals.
It's great, but I don't know. I just, so much stuff after that came out, because that was one of the first records to come out of the year. It was like out in January or something.
Yeah, it was literally like second or third week. There's another one coming up that literally was the first album that came out in 2019 that I knew of. But anyway, Soilwork is just like I said with Rammstein. I don't know if I'm just like blinded by the fact of how much I've always loved him, how much I love Bjorn, Speed, Strid. If I get blinded by the fact, because I look at this and I don't love it as much as I love even recent albums like The Living Infinite. To me, they just don't do wrong. There's never been a downfall to me in like their releases. And it's weird because this guy's constantly putting out music. Him and David Anderson, every year, if there's not a Soilwork album, there's a Night Flight Orchestra album.
Yeah.
And there's been like 1 year or 2 years ago where they had both, I think.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's crazy. It's kind of like we said with Tommy Victor. You can consistently put out that much music and it's always good quality. And this album, has classic sounding stuff like The Wolves Are Back in Town is one of my favorite songs of theirs since the good old days of 15, 20 years ago of Soilwork. Arrival. Like I said, Full Moon Shoals. This whole album is great. There's not much more to say. It's like Soilwork's kind of another one of those bands, like I said about Rammstein. If there's something about them you don't like, they don't really change their sound to where you are going to like them. So I think you just kind of got to love that Swedish. They've always been classified as melodic death metal, but I don't even really consider them that.
Yeah.
To me, melodic death metal is Scar Symmetry, where it's like true death metal.
I get that.
With true melodic vocals.
Yeah.
And he has true melodic vocals, but he's got heavy vocals, but they're not deathy to me. And his voice has always been one of my favorite metal voices of the past 20 years. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's my take on why I love Soilwork and their new music. Okay, number 12, Inglorious, Ride to Nowhere.
I mean, really, dude.
This is a ride to somewhere, and it's
It
somewhere
sure
fucking great.
Somewhere where
Sorry,
amazing fucking music. No, maybe, but goddamn it, it's true.
Right.
And this is kind of one of those, like, for a minute, it wasn't even on my list at all. And I'm like skimming back through my master list, like, did I miss anything? And that's kind of when I caught this record and was like, oh, holy fuck, this has to be on here somewhere.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's so good. I mean, it's so, like, there's all these fucking bands, Dirty Honey and Joyce Wolf and Rival Sons and Sorry, Greta Van Fleet, that's doing this style of rock, and no one's talking about Inglorious. And it's like, are you people on fucking PCP or some shit?
I don't know if it's because they're a little heavier.
Maybe it's because they're a little, the only thing, maybe they're a little heavier, or maybe, in a way, sometimes they lean a little bit 80s, even though they're like, young dudes.
Yeah. Maybe
that's why. I don't know. Or maybe it's because they're from the UK. I don't know. Whatever.
That's a good point, because most of those bands you just mentioned lean 70s.
And they don't, they're not touring here as much, or if at all, if anything.
Yeah.
As much as those other bands we just mentioned. So, maybe that's why, but man, this band is so in that fucking vein, and this record is so good. I mean, sonically, it's insane. I say insane a lot, but it is. In all the songs, I Don't Know You and Where Are You Now, Liar's fucking great, dude.
Yeah, that might be my favorite one.
You can just hear the fringe on his jacket in that song. I mean, and the guy's voice is
freak show. Yeah,
it's out in space, dude.
Yeah, it's one of those, like I keep always bring up Last in Line or Lynch Mob, where it's vocally just as impressive as the music.
Yeah,
I mean you can say that about a lot of bands, but not a lot of bands you can say it where both entities are above great on their own. You take his voice and it's amazing. You take this band's music and it's amazing.
Yeah,
you put it together and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, let's take some of our friends we see out at shows. Doug, Melody and Jules, Scott Squires. Listen to this band. This is right up your fucking alley. You will love this shit.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Well, we know Jason Carroll already does. So.
Yes, that's why I didn't. We know he's legit, Which, no, I mean, everybody's legit, but you know what I mean. Now I sound like a dick. Whatever. What's the next one?
Did you hear that, Melanie?
God damn it.
Did you hear that, Doug? He just called you not legit. No.
I did not. Okay. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Okay, so number 11. John Garcia and the Band of Gold.
There you go. This is another one. It was out.
This was the
super early.
That's the one I was referring to a minute ago. Like it came out January 4th.
And I listened.
2019.
I remember back at the place in Sand Springs. It was one of those winter days where it was like 60 degrees because we live in fucking Oklahoma. And I had all my windows open. And I was cleaning up. I was cleaning my place up. I'm like, I'll put this record on, and I really enjoyed it. But but then the flood came. Yeah. And everything else came out, and you obviously hung on to it a little better, so go ahead.
Yeah, this one I kept going back to more so than any other John Garcia solo album ever. And I guess, I don't know if you call this a solo album, because it's got Band of Gold. It's the first one that's got Band of Gold in the title as well.
Yeah.
But for those of you who don't know, John Garcia was in Caius, and I've always thought, man, it'd be amazing. Caius is one of those bands that never did a reunion, But it's at the same time.
Which is insane, right?
Yeah, it's like the same time.
I still wonder, is that coming?
amazing as it would be, it's like solo, this guy, it sounds like kind of like Caius anyway, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing about this album that I kind of thought about when I was looking back through this stuff was that you've always talked about how much you love short songs, and surprisingly, for this style of music, most of these songs are 3 minutes long, at the most 3.5. There's a couple that are, over 4 minutes, but anyway, it's very, what's the right word? It's stoner rock, but it's like that desert rock, like Caius was.
I get that, yeah.
Where it's got that, it doesn't sound like your typical stoner rock, but it's got a lot of that vibe, because John Garcia is that. He's like one of the poster boys for that kind of music, in my opinion. And
it's like, what would it be if he wasn't around?
This music or what?
Yeah, what would stoner rock be if he never...
Oh,
it might
true.
not even be stoner rock,
Yeah, that's a great point. And, I mean, in typical John Garcia fashion, the song titles are just as great as the music itself, with songs like Space Vato, Jim's Whiskers, Chicken Delight, Apache Junction.
I think...
I can't even say how to
somebody
say
had
it.
Chicken Delight at my brother's at Christmas the other day.
But yeah, I mean, Chicken Delight is a great song, not just because of the name. Liliana is probably the best song on the album. Don't even think about it. But yeah, I mean, I wish more people would listen to this kind of stuff, but it's not anything that's ever going to be mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of stuff that is mainstream that I think if people heard this, they would dig it.
Yeah. And
I think I'm just glad that this guy continually puts out music. If we never see a Caius reunion, which I don't know why we wouldn't, people would show up for it, just because outside of him, you've also got members of Queens of the Stone Age and stuff like that. So it's got power to it, but I say we don't need it as much if we got albums like this. So.
There you go.
Number 10, The New Roses, Nothing But Wild. And this one is kind of, like you just said about John Garcia, when this came out, I listened to it because you mentioned it was out.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Right.
That's why it's at number 10. But it kind of, for me, it kind of got lost in the shuffle with listening to everything else. And I think I like this one probably even more than their first album. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
it's hard to say. They're both great, but
they've got 3 or 4 albums.
Oh, that's right. I forget that.
Yeah.
It's just the last 2 is the 2 that I've been on board with. I'm like one of those people now.
What one of those people?
When people say their first album, they really had it's the first album you knew.
The kind of people we can't fucking stand.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Trent.
Yeah.
Well,
like Typo Negative's first album, Bloody Kisses, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, fuck that shit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm dude, you just pissed me off right there. I think this charted a little higher for me than did you.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, so the New Roses, they're from Germany, but to look at them and or hear them, you would think they were from fucking, I don't know,
North
fucking
Carolina.
Macon, Georgia or some shit. I mean, it's not like Southern, but it's just that good time biker hard rock that you I don't know, you could see with Jackal, or you could see them being at a motorcycle rally, or...
That's a good point. It's like...
Which usually doesn't register with me unless you are fucking Jackal.
Right.
But these guys are so good. And I think, and I'm just really intrigued at the fact that they're fucking German and that they're doing this kind of thing.
It's like that feel-good 80s rock, but not sounding like 80s rock.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, the song Down by the River is just... Dude, you are so inspired and awestruck when you hear that song. You just want to go do some positive shit.
Yeah.
Can't Stop Rock and Roll's great. As the Crow Flies, I love that song. It's just it's a feel good summer 6-pack fucking record. Yeah. It really is.
Glory Road, if that got on the radio, this band could get big.
Yeah, and and I'm going through here, so I can talk about it, get the list of songs to refresh me.
Yeah.
And I see a list of tour dates, and it's all German. It's all in Germany. I mean, they're just it's so fucking German.
And it's just weird because you wouldn't think this kind of music is big in Germany.
Yeah.
But obviously, maybe it just is because they're doing it.
I don't know.
Or is there a scene of bands doing this that we don't know about?
From the other record, that Every Road what is it? Every heart. God damn it. Every heart deserves an open road. I can't remember what the fuck it's called.
One More for the Road from 2017.
Well, the song.
Oh yeah.
Is the
where the video shows
videos from Wacken, and they're or some festival, and people are digging it and loving it. It's like, wow, it feels like it's in, it feels like this is in like Kansas City or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll finally see him at Sturgis. I mean, not us personally, but maybe we'll see him get there.
Maybe it's just that will happen,
Let's set up a German biker rally in Tulsa so they can come.
And it might fucking happen.
All right, we're getting into the top 9 now. Top 9 of 2019. So this is the nitty gritty, I guess. Since it's 2019, you got to say it starts at 9 down instead of 10.
Oh my God, you with your
I like to be weird just to pitch out.
I know. And again, like I'm saying, 2020 is going to be the top 10 of 2020, okay?
No, it's got to be 20. It's 21 where it changes.
God damn it. You're killing me with this shit. All right, dude. All right.
It's got to be 2021.
Because I'm a pushover, and I like bald men.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm going to give you one more year. We'll do a top 20 of 2020. Then it's it. That's it. It's top 10 from there on out. I'm putting my foot down. Okay?
Maybe we can compromise and be top 11.
All right. Top 9 of 2021. See how that's going?
Going backwards.
It's not going to help you, sir.
Okay.
So what's number 9?
It is Alter Bridge, Walk the Sky.
Nice.
And in typical Alter Bridge fashion,
it's grand, it's epic. I mean,
all killer, no filler.
Yeah, well, that's what you're going to get with Alter Bridge. I think, wouldn't you rather, if they just did that on the album 10 times, it probably would have been like number 2 or 3 for me. Yeah. So that's just how amazing that song is.
And that song, there's an intro track, but that's basically the first song, and that's another staple of Alter Bridge. Is their opening track is always freaking huge and badass. It's never failed, I don't think, that I can remember on any of these albums. Excuse me. And, I mean, this one's a pretty lengthy one. It's like an hour long, 14 songs.
It's kind of how...
But that's that's another kind of staple.
A lot of their shit is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just kind of skimming through it. One of the highlights for me is Forever Falling, and that's the track that Mark Tremonti sings.
Yeah,
and Miles sings on it as well, but it's just backups and a chorus and stuff like that. And it's weird because I love Miles' voice better than Mark Tremonti, but Mark Tremonti's got an amazing voice as well. And I guess it kind of stood out to me because musically that song is so, I don't know. It's more Tremonti anyway because it's a little bit heavier. It's got a huge riff that's really just kind of reminiscent of what he does on his own. Mm-hmm. But whenever you put Miles on it, it makes it it sounds like an Alter Bridge song as well with him and the vocals too,
Yeah.
But, excuse me, I can't get this crap in my throat. But yeah, overall, Walk the Sky is just another Alter Bridge album that's like you said, epic from beginning to end. I mean, you got any other tracks you want to mention? Or?
No, I mean, it's just...
Tear Us Apart's great.
Yeah, it's just epic. It's a big album, as all their stuff usually is.
Yeah.
And whenever they put something out, it usually ends up on our lists.
Yeah, I think every time we've done this, even prior to doing the podcast, those albums will end up on our list. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Glad that these guys keep putting out music that's this high quality. There's not really a letdown from them ever.
Yeah, there's not.
And one other thing to mention, we kind of mentioned this, I know it was earlier this year on something where we were talking about Miles. It's kind of like a golden age for these guys if you're a fan of this band, because there's just so much music over the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Every other year you get an Alter Bridge album. In between that, you get a Slash album with Miles. You get a Tremonti album.
Yeah.
You've got a Miles Kennedy solo album.
I know.
There's just a plethora of amazing music.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be no lacking content from this group of people. Yeah. I guess you could say, or these acts, however you want to put it.
Right. Well, going into number 8 is another band that is consistent as hell.
Yes.
And that's Canada's Danko Jones.
Man, I mean, come on. That's another one. Come on, people.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't scream it loud enough.
Yeah, you could do the Michael Monroe rant with Danko Jones.
Exactly. You just switch out the names. It still fits.
Yeah.
You know?
A Rock Supreme is the title of the album, and that's as fitting an album title as you can get when it comes to Danko Jones.
Pretty much.
This band is kind of in the same sense of an AC/DC or something where you know what you're going to get, but not that streamlined as AC/DC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I've even heard him before compare the band to AC/DC, maybe on one of his podcasts or something. But they've always got a few different things going on the album, but just consistent as hell. Like everything, it's just like perfect rock and roll. I mean, seriously, if you want to say like favorite tracks, I could just start naming every song on this album because it's just consistent as hell. The opening track, "I'm in a Band," is typical Danko Jones, where it's just like it's almost like Anvil in a way.
Yes, there's no hidden meanings in the lyrics. Right. It's like, I'm in a band. I just wrote a song about I'm in a band, Right. I mean, I love love. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And
it's like I said, almost in an Anvil way, but without being that corny. You see the song title, and that's exactly what the song's about.
Yes. Yeah. There's no butterbus jerky here. Okay.
Right.
I think Dance, Dance, Dance is one of the highlights of this record. The video is definitely a fucking highlight.
I actually don't know if I've seen that.
Well, you might want to when we're done, and then you'll thank me.
Okay. So,
anyways, but all that aside, it's it's just good meat and potatoes, strong rock and roll. All the shit that we love, and that gets us going. Power trio type kind of shit. I mean, they're awesome, and this is a great record. He's never had I don't think he's ever had a dud,
right,
of a record. So I mean,
and there's way more Danko Jones albums than you think there are.
Yes, definitely, and so yeah, this guy was definitely going to be on our list.
Yeah, if you grew up loving hard rock or just like anything, listening to music and having a good time while you're doing it with some loud guitars, this is a band that you need to be paying attention to.
Exactly, and they've been around for almost 20 years, so you have no excuse.
Right. Yeah, I know Sirius plays them on occasion, but still not even anywhere near close to enough on there at all. And so, if you're not a follower of Danko Jones or you've seen the name but don't listen, now's the time to start, people. 2019.
Exactly.
Going into 2020. So, and that's another one, like, I've never seen them live. You have. Saw them open for Volbeat.
Yep, got to see him open for Volbeat in Oklahoma City. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was way better than Volbeat, and I love Volbeat. So what's that tell you?
Yeah. So hopefully one day I'll get that opportunity.
I think it's cool the West Coast shows they're playing have Junkyard opening.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, how cool would that be?
Yeah. And it's like it's extremely fitting too.
Yes, it is. It is. That works.
Yeah. All right, number 7 is Haunt. If Icarus Could Fly.
I had to get him on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on the Haunt train. I'm sold on it. I love this band. I love how they operate, and this record is insane. I mean, it's like goddamn, it's like how do I describe this and like how vital it is, but also expressing how much it takes me back without trying to sound like a throwback,
Right.
I don't know if I have the intelligence to convey that feeling, any more eloquently. I mean, all the shit that, it's thrash, it's epic heavy metal. It's very reminiscent of the late 80s, early 90s. Shit that used to get us excited. Yeah. I love the clean vocals. There's melodies, there's the guitar lines. I mean, I fell in love with Haunt this year. Yeah. And this record is awesome,
Yeah, you mentioned the guitar lines. That's like the huge highlight here on this album.
Yes. And it's all good, Run and Hide. I love the title track. I think title track's badass.
That was what I was about to say. That's my favorite track.
Yeah. And I love how, Trevor Church is so, everything's do it yourself. Everything's self-contained within him. Bandcamp is his, that's the way to go for him. He sells everything on there, and it's all just, the design of it. It's just the logos and the color schemes and the packaging and the way he does everything is like reminiscent of, that old school thrash kind of way.
Yeah.
If I don't know if that makes any sense. See, I get excited and I can't, But and they've already got a new record coming out like in January.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it's
didn't know
just
that.
prolific as shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I already ordered the cassette, buddy.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I'm on it.
So you'll probably be hearing about that one.
Oh yeah.
A year from right now.
Yes.
In that top 20.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, this just checks all the boxes. It's accessible, melodic thrash, but it's also it also is just steeped in the underground in a way too. I mean, it's the shit I go nuts for. It really is.
Yeah.
And there's, I've said that the last 2 or 3 records. There's no way I wasn't going to put this one on my list.
Well, you'll say that. I mean, we're in the top 10 of the year, so we're going to be saying that about every one of these albums.
Yeah, we're all going to get dorky about everything now.
But a side note, if you missed any of our recent episodes, there's a band called Hysteria, which features Trevor Church and 2 of the guys from Hellfire,
which we just saw.
Yeah, we talked about because we saw them open for Death Angel.
That's an amazing record.
Yes, and Jason wrote a review of that album up on our website at thethunderunderground.com. So check out Hysteria featuring Hans Trevor Church as well.
Of course.
So getting into number 6 is Evergrey, The Atlantic. This for me is kind of like what you just said about Hunt. This got me super excited this year, and I don't think there's never a point that Evergrey doesn't. We've said this about a few other bands on the list. I said it. We said about Alter Bridge. I said it about Soilwork. There's never been anything that's below great to me from this band.
Yeah, I mean they don't do anything bad.
Yeah, it's like there's no album that I could say, well, I'm never going to listen to that one again because I want to listen to the early ones again, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like there is with a lot of bands.
Yeah, I only listen to the first 4 Evergrey records.
Right.
Whatever.
Which those first 4 are amazing. But this band keeps consistently putting out all killer, no filler. And The Atlantic is no different. And kind of like what we just said about Danko Jones, you see the name The Atlantic, and yes, that's what this album's about.
A nautical theme.
Yes. It's a... Why did I just draw a blank on the word? Concept album, I guess would be the right way to say it. And this basically, tells a story from track 1 to track 10. And it's surprisingly this huge concept album, and it's still shorter than that Alter Bridge album.
Well, it's, Alter Bridge.
You're right.
I mean, they can really extend some shit out.
Yeah, they're borderline. I think Mark Tremonti's a big progressive metal fan. But Evergrey, is great because they can cross all those boundaries of, are they a progressive metal band? Are they a power metal band? They're not either. They're fucking Evergrey.
Yeah, that's right.
And Tom England just has an amazing voice. He's an amazing songwriter. This album, like I said, follows a story, and it's a lot of long songs. I mean, 7, 6, 5.5 minute long songs. Weightless is the second track on here. It's probably my favorite. End of Silence is great. And the final 2 tracks, the Beacon and This Ocean, are fantastic. And I just... This band is number 2 on my concert bucket list, like I mentioned earlier. Michael Monroe and Glenn Hughes.
Yeah.
This band's right behind Glenn Hughes on number 1, bands I missed, and they freaking played Tulsa, and I missed them. You saw them. I was at the show. I just got there late, but
Yeah,
I guess
that was another one I saw and you didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess the silver lining to that is I was late, but I saw Nevermore, so
yeah,
that'll never happen again.
Yeah, definitely. With Chris Broderick, who's been on this podcast.
That's right. So yeah, Evergrey, I highly suggest. Another Swedish band. As always, they're fantastic. The country keeps producing amazing music. And Evergrey, I've done this before. Like, I just put all the, I know you do this a lot. Just put all their music in one huge playlist and just hit random.
And it's all good.
You never have to skip.
Yeah.
Could listen to this band all night. So that's my rant on Evergrey. All right, we're getting into the big time, the top five.
Top five, buddy. Here we go.
Yeah. And before we speak about this album that kicks off top five and number five, is we actually had a discussion. I don't know if you remember this. Had a discussion when we were making the top 18 of 2018. Is this album eligible for 2018? Because you remember he put out the vinyl.
I remember
in December, and that's what you got me for Christmas last year.
That's right. Yes.
And so I listened to it, then I let you borrow it. You listened to it, but then the official album release, like CD, digital, everything wasn't until like March, I think, of this year.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, that's the official release, so this is a 2019 album, even though we got our hands on it.
There you go.
Like some other people in 2018. Which would be Damon Johnson's solo album, Memoirs of an Uprising.
Yes. I mean, what a record.
Yeah.
We've been lucky enough to have Damon Johnson on the show twice. One of the nicest guys. I mean, really. And anyone that listens to this show on a regular basis or knows us know that anything with anybody in Brother Kane, we go shit nuts for. And, sometimes, Black Star Riders, he was with them, and they were great. They are great. And you don't know, I know that he's done some like acoustic solo stuff, and I know he did a solo EP that was, rock.
Yeah, 2 years ago, Echo.
Yeah, and that I never really did catch on to that. I didn't really listen to it until much later.
Nobody Using is fantastic on that album.
Yeah. and so I'm like, well, let's see how this is going to work out. And man, I was floored. I was blown away. It exceeded what I expected of this record. But then again, it's like, well, it's Damon Johnson, so it's going to be amazing. I should have fucking known.
Yeah,
but
his songwriting abilities since '93.
Yes,
you've known they've been amazing.
And I'm so happy that this guy's still around and doing music and working and not, and it never turned into just, oh, you remember that band Brother Kane with Got No Shame?
Right.
He's been around and he just keeps making great shit. And this record is just, it's phenomenal. I think it's a quintessential hard rock record.
Yes.
It's a songwriter's record. I mean, it's very important. And that's what I want to get across.
To me, this album, I don't know if this is going to sound right when I say it. 10 tracks, 38 minutes. To me, this album is like a Rolling Stones or Aerosmith album.
I get that.
Where it's like, it doesn't sound like a Rolling Stones or Aerosmith album, but it's like just 10 tracks of great heavy rock and roll.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing.
Every song's great,
Yeah. You're not going to skip anything. There's nothing that's like, a left turn from the rest of the record. It's all, finely crafted rock songs. You've got choruses, riffs. I don't know what else you want. I mean, you could be looking for.
If there was a song that was a left turn, then hopefully the next song would take a right turn back down the right road.
Oh my God.
Or no, sorry, it's a left turn back down the right road.
Sorry. Are you sure you don't have any kids? Because, man, you got this dad joke thing down, dude. I mean, fuck.
Right.
I don't know that it has a place on this podcast, Trent.
Okay, I'll cut it out.
But, I mean...
Dallas could have been a beatdown.
Dallas could have been a beatdown. I think is probably my favorite song on the record. But I love Shivering, Shivering. Rage With Me is awesome. I don't know. I like Making Peace with the Wicked Beast.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of goes into a different thing vocally. I love this record.
I really dig So Brutal.
Yeah.
And he mentioned, I mean, we talked about Dallas could have been a beatdown last time we had him on the podcast, like earlier this year. And he mentioned that one's probably going to be in his set list from here until he's done. So there's a reason why it's our favorite song, because it's freaking great.
Yeah, exactly.
But Damon Johnson, his songwriting abilities and his just this guy's wrote songs that that people know that just listen to mainstream music and have no clue who wrote it.
Yeah, exactly.
So get your ass on the Damon Johnson Express, or whatever you want to call it now, because all his solo work, just check out all the Black Star Riders albums as well. He was on all of them up until the most recent one. So you not want to miss what this guy has to offer, and he has that project that he does with Ricky Warwick that we talked about when we had both of them on the podcast in 2018, called Warwick Johnson.
Yeah.
And they were talking about doing some original stuff at some point. I don't know if that'll still happen since they're not in the same band, but I'm sure they'll still make it happen. So.
I hope so.
Yeah. Definitely. So number 4 is Crobot, Motherbrain.
Before you go into this, let me just tell you. This was, I think you were on this record way before I was. You know, I've always knew it was out, and I knew it was always in my master list. But, you know, just the last few months really is when I've really kind of just really sunk into it. And, what a great record. It's kind of like, I don't know, I think it's up there with their first record.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those where I just put on and just went. So I don't know if I could even tell you any song titles. It's just one of those I always just had going when I was driving or doing something around the house or something.
Yeah.
But, you know, what a fucking record, dude.
Yeah. And these guys, they're a newer band, but they've been, this is what, their third album?
Yes.
So they've been around a bit. They're starting to make a name for themselves, and I kind of hope that they continue to. Who was it? I don't know. We were talking about that earlier. I forgot who it was already, but that they continue to make that climb, and years down the road, they're like a household name to rock fans.
Yeah, I hope.
And this is the album that I think could put them on that path. Because it's like when Crobot first came out, I would say that. If someone just said, what genre is this, or describe them, I would probably say stoner metal, even though it wasn't totally. But this album, it still has elements of that, but they've pushed it more into just like this hard rock.
Yeah.
Real kind of just heavy music vibe. And even, they've, all their albums are great, and they're great songwriters as well. But this third track on here, Drown, I think, is just another level of songwriting, and and it's not, I don't even know how to describe that song. It's so, like, the chorus is so huge. To me, that proves that this band is, whether people know it or not, this band is a force and will be a force in the rock world.
Yeah. I'm
just making that claim right now. But yeah, just put this album on and go. The first 2 tracks, Burn and Keep Me Down. There's videos for both those. They're fantastic. Low Life, there's a video for. Actually, I don't think there's a video for Burn.
Song, yeah.
But Low Life, I think I saw recently that just hit like 1 million views or something. So
yeah, the tide's turning for them. Hopefully,
yeah. Blackout, The Hive that ends this album. When this, like you said, whenever I was like really started listening to this, I think I was messaging you with Jason Carroll. I'm like, holy shit, this album, and there was a point where I thought, this is my favorite album of the year. And even above albums that were already out that I thought were my favorite album of the year. And then as they got later on, it stayed extremely high. But as we'll get here into the top 3, we'll talk about, obviously, a couple albums that were above that on my list.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how much I love this, and that's how much I do love this, that this is easily one of the best albums of the year, and I hope enough people are paying attention to this band. All right, so number 3, getting into the the big time now, right?
Oh, yeah.
And a band that we were just mentioning here just a few minutes ago, Black Star Riders, Another State of Grace. This album surprised me. There's no surprising that Black Star Riders are great and they put out great music. But it surprised me at how much I love this album and how after like 2 listens, I'm like, man, this album is just like, I couldn't stop listening to it.
Yeah.
There was a day I listened to this album 4 times in a row one day.
Wow.
And I was blown away that I wasn't blown away that I loved it. I was just blown away that it was one of my favorite albums of the year.
Yeah. Well, I was like you. I listened to it and then just immediately started it over.
Yeah.
Like the day it came out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's Black Star Riders, man. I don't know. You know,
Right.
I think Poisoned Heart is my favorite song on the record. But the opening track, Tonight the Moonlight Let Me Down, is awesome. Why Do You Love Your Guns, epic, and it's like totally, like, everything they're saying in that song is fucking right. I don't know. What are some standouts for you?
This is one of those ones where it's all killer, no filler. You know, the title track, underneath the afterglow, like you said, Why Do You Love Your Guns? Standing in the Line of Fire, I think might be my favorite track. And it's just perfect. You know, we've said this like 3 or 4 times here in the top 10. It's just perfect rock and roll.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And they, you know, Black Star Riders was born out of Thin Lizzy. And, you know, we've said this on the podcast before. How they're doing it was probably a little tougher. But I think in the end, it was the right thing to do. Because, look, I mean, that Black Star Riders can stand on its own now.
Yeah.
And you don't really think Thin Lizzy. I think Black Star Riders.
Right. That's a good point.
So, and this record just solidifies that even more. I mean, it's just, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good point, because when they first came out, you know, that first album, I listened to it and liked it, but when you saw the name, I still instantly think of Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
Now I don't at all.
Yeah, exactly. Another State of Grace. I love of course, the Irishness of that song. I mean, this is just a great record.
Yeah, this is an Irish band, and Ricky Warwick is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to not only vocals, but songwriting as well.
Definitely.
He's one of those guys that he's been doing it for probably 30 years. And there's still the majority of people in the mainstream don't know who this guy is. Which is, I mean, especially in America, at least, when you get over to England and Ireland and probably Europe as a whole, he's probably more of a household name, I would think.
Yeah.
But because he had the Almighty, which was pretty huge in Europe there for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's just because, you know...
that's always the case,
the
right?
English and the Europeans know what good music is. People over here, you know, they're satisfied to settle with Chevelle. So, I don't know.
Right. So, I mean, in a roundabout way, Damon Johnson is part of 2 of the top 5.
Yes.
You know, he wasn't on this album, but he was a huge part of this band for a while, so that just goes to show that we've always been right about Damon Johnson, and now we're always right about Ricky Warwick and Scott Gorham, which if you need to be convinced about an album that has Scott Gorham on it, then you just don't fucking like rock and roll anyway.
Yeah, just turn this off right now.
Right. Number 2. You want to announce this one? I'll let you say the name.
Life of Agony, The Sound of Scars.
Yes.
Is our number 2 record.
And another one that I kind of thought this would be your number 1.
Yeah, I went back and forth, man. It was a battle.
Yeah.
But, you know, but to talk about this record, I mean, we're both huge Life of Agony fans. I'm so glad that they are not on hiatus anymore, and the last 5 years, it's just been really great for them.
They're like a full-time thing again.
Yeah, and I think I like this record better than the last one. And I like that they kept the theme of the first record, and you know, all these songs are just it just belts you in the mouth, but it also, you know, sticks to your ribs. You can't forget them. It's just fucking great. I love the it's just, I don't know.
Well, no, to mention, you said the theme of the first album. If for those who aren't aware of this album, it is basically a continuation. Like the first Life of Agony album, River Runs Red, was a concept album telling a story, and this album continues that story. It's basically picks up. This came out 26 years later.
Yeah,
and the story picks up right where the first one left off, but then goes into the future, basically, of now, and tells that story continuing. So that's a pretty cool concept that not a lot of bands would do, and other bands have done it, but you don't see it that often. So it's kind of cool, a cool concept just for that.
Yeah,
I still like the last album better, A Place Where There's No More Pain.
Yeah,
but that's not saying that I like this one any less.
Yeah.
This is still in my top 2 or 3 albums of the year.
Yeah,
and that one was my album of the year that year. So
it's made it all this way for a reason.
Yeah, that's like the way I like A Place That There's No More Pain is, I'm talking like an inch more or something.
Okay, yeah. Well, for me, standouts are I think Scars and Blackheart and Lay Down is just a badass way to open the record.
Yeah.
Just 1, 2, 3. I love Weight of the World. It's got that snap and that bounce that the new drummer, Veronica Bellino, really brought to this record. And has, you hear that throughout. Empty Hole's great. This is just as Jasta would say, it's a banger.
Well, yeah, you listed my top 3 songs on this album: Blackheart, Lay Down, and Weight of the World.
There you go.
Easily. Once Below, has a really cool vibe to it as well. And we had Alan Robert on this podcast here.
Yes, we did.
Just about, 3 months ago maybe now?
Yeah.
And he, talked about what went into this and the decision to do this and how everything came about, how they did the interludes and everything. And they, the same way as the first album, this has several interludes in it that, connect the story together. So highly recommended if you're a fan of freaking heavy metal. This is an album you don't want to sleep on.
No, yeah. Please do not fall asleep on this one.
All right, so we're here at the top, at the end.
We made it.
Yeah, and this was
number 1.
Yeah, like we said off the top, I think this has been the case the majority of the time. It was unanimous for both of us that this was our favorite album of the year.
Yeah, it's been the silver tuna, Marv, for pretty much since I heard it.
Yeah. And that's Feral Roots by the Rival Sons.
That is right.
And this, I hate to be repetitive, but perfect rock and roll.
At
the highest fucking sense.
Yes, this is absolutely the highest of highest perfect rock and roll. And we love Rival Sons. We've always loved them. And their records have always, connected with us, I think. I'm speaking for you for a minute, but you'll see what I'm getting around to. But this one, Feral Roots, I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hold the fucking phone. What's going on here? I don't know what aligned for them on this one. I don't know. It's like, did they sit down and go, I want to make a record that was better than our other ones? No, they sat down, made it, and said, I want to make a record that's better than probably most shit out there and that has been out there. And, how did they fucking do that?
Right.
I don't know. It's just insane.
Yeah, because that's a funny way to look at it, because it's like most people say they don't sit down thinking, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing we ever did.
Yeah.
That's your goal, obviously. But, when you look at these, 11 songs on it, 11 songs as a whole, it's like, what are these 4 guys doing that they're that they're just sitting there and this is what comes out, and it's probably just natural.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
We kind of talked about them in length here a few months ago, because 2 or 3 months ago now, we saw them.
Yeah, we saw them at the Tulsa State Fair.
Yeah. And, we talked about this album then. We talked about the album when it came out. The first thing to talk about, I think, is Jay Buchanan, and just how amazing this guy is as a vocalist. And it transcends beyond what you would even believe when you see him live.
Yeah, exactly.
So this isn't like some kind of, studio trick to sound this amazing. This guy just is that amazing.
Oh, I mean, hands down. I mean, there's no, and he makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
He's one of those dudes where he holds his microphone way far away, and you still hear him. And it's also, I'm not trying to one up. I'm just trying to explain. This will probably be my most favorite concert of the whole year when I saw him at Temple Live in Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I think just because it was a better crowd and a different atmosphere, it was just. His voice. It's just it goosebumps instantly.
Right.
And
this band is one of those chemistry. You hear that word thrown around a lot, but when it comes to certain bands, but this band is no doubt like these guys were meant to play together.
Yeah, for sure.
And you see that live and you hear it on record. And when they were opening up for Black Sabbath a few years ago, it's like most anyone that's going to see a Black Sabbath show, that's like all you're thinking about is I'm about to see freaking Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Ozzy Osbourne on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then these guys come out and like after that show, that's all I was fucking thinking about was Rival Sons, even though I just fucking saw Tony Iommi, the greatest riff master of all time.
And it's like, look, I'm glad I get to go see Black Sabbath, but I made goddamn sure to get there in time to see Rival Sons.
Right.
And I was way, way up high, and they still connected to me. So, there you go.
So that's our way of saying you should see Rival Sons live.
Yeah, right. But, I mean, back to the record. I don't know. Well, the record for you, what are your standouts? What did you like about this record that made it number one?
Everything about it.
Okay.
It's just like a cheesy answer, but so the title track is like more of a slower track.
Yeah. And
it's just like...
But it's like an epic fucking Led Zeppelin-y Kashmir type kind of fucking build-up and...
Yeah.
Wow, goddamn.
And the opening track, Do Your Worst, right into Sugar on the Bone.
Sugar on the Bone is fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love that song.
That would be...
Stood By Me, that was great.
Yeah, I would think if I was making a top 19 songs of the year, Sugar on the Bone and Shooting Stars would probably both be on that.
Yeah, I mean, Shooting Stars, that song for me, I can't express how important that song was to me this year. Rarely do you hear a song where you almost get like choked up.
Yeah.
And this song makes you do that. I mean, and that's the mark. I mean, how would I feel if I wrote a song knowing that it made somebody out there choke up?
Yeah.
And almost start crying. That's powerful. So, I mean, that song, that's my favorite song on the record.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I think that
you mentioned Goosebumps earlier, seeing it live. You get that. Listen to this on record,
Oh, and I don't know if I sent it. I think I sent it to you. I think you sent it to you and Jason. But there's a picture of excuse me. I think it's on their Instagram. There's a video of them rehearsing it with the choir.
Okay.
And it's just, they probably released, I don't know, a few weeks ago. I mean, it's absolutely, it's just jaw-dropping. Them with the choir and, and it's like 5 people or some shit, but still, just the emotion that came across that little fucking video, it was like, well, I think I might shed a tear here. I don't know. I mean, that's just how transcendent this band has become with this record.
Yeah. And
what it's turned them into. It's insane. It really is.
Well,
I say that word a lot, but fuck, it is.
Well, no, you mentioned Zeppelin, and you think of like Zeppelin has a million hits, but you think of like the ones that every human on Earth knows, like Black Dog or Stairway to Heaven. You think of like Aerosmith, Dream On, Hendrix, Purple Haze. Rolling Stones, Start Me Up, or Honky Tonk Women. To me, Shooting Stars, 20 years, 30 years from now, should be in that same category. Yeah. I'm not just saying that loosely. Like, it should be in the same category as every song I just mentioned.
I agree.
Stairway to fucking Heaven.
Oh, I know. I know. I mean, that's where we're at with this song.
Yeah.
So, and then, of course,
Too Bad's fucking
Too Bad
great,
is great. That's kind of the one that's kind of getting a lot of the airplay and everyone's singing. So
yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, and it's also, that's a song I think everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
So.
And you mentioned it off the top about this album, but we're here several, this is their 6th album?
Don't get me.
Okay.
Don't give me the line.
This is
their 6. I apologize.
This is my favorite album of theirs.
Oh yeah, this is definitely. Yeah.
Kind of like I said with Evergrey, it's like a band that just continually keeps putting out music that you can listen to every album at any time, but the new music is just as great as whatever brought you to the show in the first place,
Yeah. I went a few weeks ago at work. I went straight 3000% Nerd and started their first record and listened all the way through.
I think I remember. Yeah, you told me that.
And ended with Feral Roots. And, I mean, it's all deadly. It's all amazing, but Feral Roots, man. Whew. It's top fucking shelf.
Right. And it's like, we've done this little rant like a few times over the past couple of years, but if you're one of those people that like, oh, Greta Van Fleet's the best thing I've heard in 10 years or whatever, 20 years, it's pull your head out of your ass and listen to this album. This makes Greta Van Fleet sound like fucking, Starset or Five Finger Death Punch. It's just like, it makes them sound irrelevant. Makes them sound irrelevant.
It's like everyone's like, oh, rock's coming back, and Greta Van Fleet, you might not like them. They might be a Led Zeppelin clone, but at least they're starting the rock thing going on again, and now all these other bands are, fuck off, fuck you. It's kind of like when Henry Rollins said, U2 or The Clash is what U2 wish they could be. It's, the Greta Van Fleet, Led Zeppelin is what Greta Van Fleet wish they could be, and that's all I'm going to say on that. It all starts with Rival Sons.
Yeah.
It all starts with Rival Sons. There's no fuck. Their heads and shoulders, many heads and shoulders above any of that other shit. It starts with Rival Sons.
Yeah, and you can compare certain aspects. I think you do with Feral Roots with the title track to a band like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
you can compare their stuff to other legendary artists from the 70s, but it never sounds. It's just a comparative. Like, it kind of reminds you of that.
Yeah,
but they're their own thing.
The trajectory and the vibe of it. It's like the same grand songs and all that shit.
Yeah, and like like I just mentioned when I opened for Sabbath, that thing just from like a month or two ago where they did the 2 Sabbath songs at that Grammy announcement thing or whatever it was. I don't even know what the show was. It was some weird thing that like no one in the crowd probably knew who the fuck they were.
Yeah.
But they did Paranoid, and what was the other song?
War Pigs.
Yeah, War Pigs, and like it sounded fucking like musically it sounded fucking perfect, and then vocally it was amazing because like many people when they cover Ozzy they try to like have that Ozzy sound, and like J. Buchanan's like, no, I'm fucking J. Buchanan.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sing these like J. Buchanan, and it still sounded fucking perfect.
He's probably, let's see, I'm fucking 18,000 times better than Ozzy is, so let me just sing it like I sing it.
Exactly.
And do the songs a goddamn favor.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go, Rival Sons.
Number 1.
Yes.
Feral Roots.
So when you first heard that in 2019, did you think that was anything was going to be able to top it, even though you knew Life of Agony was coming later in the year and a few other bands?
I thought maybe Life of Agony. But I knew, I was like, this is going to be hard to beat. And I really wrestled with that in Life of Agony. But man, this record really came along and connected with me this year. And I can't deny it. So I knew pretty much straight away this is going to be the one to beat, the one to top.
Well, we talked about it earlier on, and you mentioned a couple episodes. Like this list as a whole was leaned more hard rock than it did metal. Yeah. And in the past, we've had it the other way. There was that one year where the top 6 was all thrash except for Glenn Hughes. That was like, remember that? It was the year Metallica.
Oh, Metallica, Megadeth,
Anthrax,
yeah.
Death Angel,
yeah,
and Testament, I think.
Yeah.
all of those were in the top 6, and then Glenn Hughes was like number 3 or something. But this year is the opposite. The top 5, the top 6, I guess you've got 2 metal bands. And then, it might be like 7 or 8 metal albums on this whole list, and the other 12 or 13 are all just basically hard rock.
Yeah.
And
pretty much.
Hey, that's why we call this podcast Hard Rock and Metal. It's like we love them both. That's where we came from on both. That's where we got our start, was with hard rock bands, and then went into thrash and everything from there.
Yeah, we're never going to shun it, ever.
Right. Looking forward into 2020, real quick.
I knew you were going to ask me that.
You already mentioned Haunt.
Haunt, yeah.
Has a new album. I made a list.
Okay, good, because I'm trying to think of all.
But is there anything you can think of off the top of your head? Like, I can't wait. Like we've mentioned Kirk Windstein a bunch of times.
I'm
that
really
album's
looking forward to
coming
that record
at the end of January.
Yeah. Fuck. Man, I don't know.
I put a question mark.
I know that I'm pretty sure we'll see a Megadeth record this year.
Well, yeah, we know because they've already started.
And so that's going to be cool. And hopefully an Anthrax record, but I don't know. That might go into 2021. I'm not sure. So yeah. Yeah,
I wrote Anthrax with a question mark because I'm like, we haven't heard, but it's about time.
Yeah.
And I know they've mentioned it recently, but nothing's being worked on that I know of. And Megadeth the same way.
Yeah.
They're working on it, so you got to assume it's going to be in 2020.
And barring some, slang or load type, risk type left turn, it'll probably be pretty high up on my list.
Yeah, it always is.
Yeah, exactly.
For All Kings was number 1 album of the year it came out. To us,
Yeah. Yeah.
But albums in 2020 that we do know for sure are coming out is Ozzy.
Yes.
Which is here just in the next few weeks.
And those 2 songs are really great, so I'm excited to see where that goes, even though we just kind of bagged on Ozzy a little bit. But it was more just praise for Jay Buchanan, not really. Anyways, I've said too much. Go ahead.
Nah, but I know what you mean.
Yes.
And I think most people probably do as well. Seven Dust has a new one coming.
Okay.
We might also see that LeJean Witherspoon solo album that he started working on last year. Who knows? Silverthorn has a new one coming, probably, because that's what Kenny Hickey said on our podcast. Not Silverthorn. Silver Tomb.
A lot of silvers.
Both of those, Silverthorn and Silver Tomb, have one coming in 2020, because that's what they said on our podcast.
That's right.
Brian Trishy and Kenny Hickey. Dizzy Reed has a solo album and a Hookers and Blow covers album coming. Fozzy has a new album coming. AC/DC, supposedly.
Supposedly, yes. That's
more than likely.
Rumored.
It's not definite, but it'll likely happen.
Same thing with Iron Maiden.
Yes.
Supposedly, they're kind of...
supposedly they're already wrapped it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we could see that one springtime.
Yeah, that would be badass.
Foo Fighters have a new one coming next year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters here with new albums coming out. Rob Zombie will have a new one. Lamb of God. The Scorpions. Body Count.
Yeah, Body Count. That would be...
So, they've already released a single and it's great. Have you heard that new Body Count song?
No, I haven't. I saw where that... I need to go listen to that.
Sepultura as well. They have a new single out and it's great. That album should be in the next couple months. Devil Driver. Avatar. Code Orange. Nels.
Oh.
Demons and Wizards will have their first album in fucking 15 years.
Yeah, right.
So, that'll be great. Or we assume it'll be great. King Diamond will finally have a new one.
There you go.
Mastodon. Hatebreed. Which can never go wrong with new Hatebreed.
That'll be good.
Gojira. I imagine that will be fantastic.
Yeah, that's going to be badass.
Mick Mars supposedly has said in a recent interview that that'll finally be out, his solo album. And that'll feature, at least 2 songs with Crobot.
Yeah, right.
Nightwish, Sons of Apollo, STP has a new album coming out in, I think, February or March.
Yeah, that's an acoustic thing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Testament has announced their album's coming out soon. That'll be amazing. Lynch Mob will have a new one soon. Clint Lowry's solo album. He's already got a couple singles out you can check out. Clint Lowry from Seven Dust. Corey Taylor will have his first solo album out. And I guess that's it. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff we're missing. But
oh, yes. And stuff will be happening all year.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. 2019 as a whole, I think, is another... I mean, I think ever since we've been doing this, we say this every year, it's a strong year for music, and it's like, it's never going to be... we're not saying that in the sense of like it's a strong year for like music, like sales-wise or like the mainstream-wise. Like, but not a single one of these... I don't think a single one of these albums we mentioned in our top 19 or our even 8 honorable mentions, a single one of them had a mainstream hit, probably, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, another thing that's coming out this year that I'm really excited about, Night Demon. They've recorded at Sweet Silence Studios where Metallica recorded.
That's right.
And recently they showed them in the studio with Matt and Lars from Rancid.
Right. Laying
down background vocals with them. How
like
fucking rad is that?
Like how insane.
It's like my two favorite worlds coming together.
Right.
And like and just broing down. I fucking love it, dude.
And it's just like something you never even expect to hear, like Rancid and Night Demon. It's like, how does that go together? But I'm sure it'll be fucking magical.
Well, I'm sure we'll have them on the podcast again in 2020 because I'm all positive about that shit. I'm like, look, Armand, I know you've got Lars's number in your phone. Just get him on the phone right now. I just want to tell him he's my second favorite Lars in the whole world.
Right.
And only because I'm such a gigantic Metallica freak. But anyways.
Right.
Yeah, other than that, he'd be my first.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Lars, he was recently on the new Rob Flynn podcast.
Yes. And
No Fucking
great.
Regrets.
That was so good.
Yeah. It's actually like, the interview was actually, I think, from like almost a year ago, but Rob just finally put his podcast together.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not like a time-sensitive thing. It was just them talking about music and growing up and shit. And it was fucking awesome.
Yeah. So Machine Head might be another one we see a new album from.
Yes.
It'll have been... It's 2 years now since the last one, because the last one came out in January of 2018. So, yeah, there you go. Anything else to think of to throw out there? I mean, for 2019, before we close the door on another year?
I think that's it.
Michael Monroe, you should know who the fuck he is.
That's right.
You forgot what Jason said.
And how are you coming on the Thunder Underground Melon Ballers?
Oh, yeah, that's a 2020 thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to hold you to it. God damn it.
Yep, that's definitely a thing. So if you're listening to this and you work for a company that makes melon ballers and want to make some Thunder Underground exclusives, like Kerry King is now with BC Rich, right?
He's with Dean.
I mean, Dean. Yeah, sorry, he's now with Dean. So it's like we could be like your Kerry King,
right?
Thunder Underground promotes your melon ballers. You could put us in a picture of the, Melon Baller Monthly magazine, like holding them, all that kind of shit.
I don't know about that.
All right.
Maybe you. I don't need to be in any print ads.
All right. So one final question to wrap up 2019. This is hard to do because there's always shit you forget, but can you think of a favorite guest we had? Because I didn't even think of this ahead from myself, so I'm not going to one up you about that.
But definitely Alan Robert, I think.
Yeah.
Just because I'm such a all the my faves that we were lucky enough to have on, Damon Johnson.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. Not that I don't like doing interviews with you, Trent. But I really enjoyed the different stuff that happened, and me doing Don Jameson, interviewing him by myself, and then me and JP hanging out with Night Demon.
Right.
That one's way up there. That was just a fun time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I went back through the list, like that guy, but I can't think anything right now. Alan Robert though, definitely. That was a pretty important one for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, like you mentioned, doing it by ourselves thing, I did Vivian Campbell by myself, and that was pretty amazing, because that's not something I really thought, hey, we've got someone from Def Leppard on here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on.
Like you mentioned, nuts. Alan Robert from Life of Agony, Kenny Hickey from Typo Negative.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, Vivian Campbell from Def Leppard. I mean, there's 4 bands that if you told me 20 years ago, 25 years ago that, we would be having 30-minute conversations with any of these guys. I would be like, yeah, right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so it's a pretty amazing. And then even, we had on Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder, and that one was really cool. That was the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a band that neither one of us have ever followed too closely. And he was just it was just cool as hell.
It was super fun.
Yeah.
And the guy was awesome. And then Ghoul.
Yeah,
that was fucking great.
Yeah, at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another band that you need to really just check out if you're not familiar with Ghoul.
Definitely.
Just look up some videos.
And again, he let us live.
That's right. You'll probably see new music from one of those bands next year as well.
Yeah.
All right. So if this is your first time listening, we appreciate it. All those episodes we just mentioned, go back and check them out. We've got previous episodes with guys from Hatebreed. We had Matt Byrne. Was that this year? That was last year, wasn't it? And we had on guys from, let me see, War.
Clutch.
Yeah, 2 different guys from Clutch. We
yeah,
also had on
those would... Neil Fallon would, that would go in there too, man.
Yeah. Mike D from Kill Switch was also this year.
Yes.
We've also had on Gene Simmons in the past from Kiss, Bruce Kulick. We've had on John Connolly from Seven Dust. A lot of the 80s bands like Warrant, Tesla, Dokken, Firehouse, Europe, Lillian Axe, Kicks, Junkyard, LA Guns, and
Moonlight in Your Motherfucking Blood, yo.
That is right. Love that song so much. So check that one out if you are 24 years late to the party. You can find all this stuff on thethunderunderground.com. Our website also features reviews. You can also find all the social medias there. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. YouTube is at The Thunder Underground. We've got a bunch of videos on there with reviews. Some of the podcasts as well. So subscribe there. You can listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Music, Tuner, Stitchin', Mixcloud, all that great stuff as well. Thanks again to MedFarm and DEB Concerts for another great year of sponsorship. And we will talk to you in 2020.
Thunder Underground, y'all.